So in our previous classes, in object-oriented programming, so we have seen two main concepts. One is class, other one is object. And we also discussed about methods, which are part of the class. Okay. And today we'll discuss some more object-oriented programming concepts. So we'll start with polymorphism. So polymorphism is one of the concept in object-oriented programming. Now this is third concept. So we have discussed about class, then object. Now this is polymorphism. So what is a polymorphism? So let us understand in simplest way, and then we will apply this in Java. So poly means many. Poly means many. Morphism means forms. Polymorphism means one thing can have many forms. One thing can have many forms. So that is the meaning of polymorphism. One thing can have many forms. So what does it mean? Let us see some examples. One thing can have many forms. That's called polymorphism. For example, let me take a small word called shape. Shape. Shape is just a term. There are n number of shapes are there. For example, circle is one type of shape, and square is another type of shape, and triangle is another type of shape, rectangle another type of shape. So there are multiple shapes, and one thing can have multiple forms. So one thing can have a multiple forms. All these are comes under different shapes. Suppose, let me take another example. Let's say water. So water can have in multiple forms. Let's say vapor will be there in vapor form, right? So water will be there in iceberg form, like this. So one thing can have a many forms. So that is meaning of polymorphism. So poly means many, morphism means forms. Polymorphism means one thing can have a many forms. Okay, and we can achieve this concept in Java using overloading. We can achieve this concept, or we can achieve polymorphism. Polymorphism is a theoretical concept, a theory, which we can achieve by using overloading concept. Overloading is a practical concept in Java. Polymorphism. So polymorphism is a theoretical concept which we can achieve by using polymorphism using overloading concept. So what is overloading? Overloading is nothing but a concept through which we can achieve polymorphism. Okay. So this overloading is applicable for methods as well as constructors. Methods as well as constructor. So what is the polymorphism? One thing can have a many forms. Same thing is applicable for methods and also constructors. What does it mean? Overloading is nothing but we can create multiple methods with the same name. We can create multiple methods with the same name in the same class. Normally, when you create one method two times, it will be duplicated, right? Suppose I created one method called M1 like this. And in the same class, if I create another method like this, it will be duplicated, right? But I want to use same name, but different methods I want to create like this. I'll create different methods with the same name. But if I create the same method again and again, it will be duplicated. But how can we achieve this? We can simply change the number of parameters of every method, or order of parameters of every method, or data type of parameters for every method. So we can differentiate them. Okay. So like that, we can achieve polymorphism, which is called overloading. Method overloading especially means method overloading means we can create multiple methods with the same name, but we have to change the data type of parameters, or the number of parameters, or the order of parameters. Based upon the parameters, we will differentiate these methods, but the name of the method is same. This is called method overloading. So we can create multiple methods with the same name, which is called as overloading. So one thing can have many forms. Same method M1, which is having different forms. One M1 method will take two parameters. Another method will take 3 parameters. Another method will take 2 parameters, but different data types. So one method can have different forms. One thing can have a many forms, which is called overloading. Through overloading, we can achieve polymorphism. Polymorphism is a theory concept. Through overloading, we can achieve polymorphism in Java. Okay. So the overloading is nothing. Overloading is applicable for methods as well as constructor. We can call it as a method overloading if you apply overloading to the methods. And if you apply overloading for the constructors, we could call it as a constructor overloading. Okay, the main concept of overloading is one thing can have many forms. One method we can create in multiple forms. One constructor we can create in multiple forms. Same constructor name, but we will create multiple constructors with a different type of parameters called as overloading concept. Okay. But when you overload a methods, we have to follow 4 different rules applicable for methods as well as constructor. 4 rules we have to apply when you overload methods. The first rule, let me write it here. The first rule for overloading, method names should be same. Okay, whatever methods we created inside the class, all methods names should be same. That's the first rule. And to differentiate those methods, because if I create multiple methods with the same structure, it will be duplicated. It is not allowed by default. So we have to differentiate them by specifying number of parameters should be different for every method. Data type of parameters should be different. Suppose first criteria is what? Number of parameters should be different. Suppose sometimes the methods are having same number of parameters. The first method having 2 parameters, second method also having 2 parameters. In those cases, what we can do is we have to change the data type of parameters. Okay, normally the number of parameters should be different for every method. In case if number of parameters are same, then the data type of parameters should be different. Okay, suppose the data type of parameters also same, then order of parameters should be different. Okay, so first method taking int and integer. Second parameters taking some double and double or double and integer like that. So order of parameters should be different. So these are the 4 rules we have to follow when you overload methods. Methods name should be same. Number of parameters should be different. If number of parameters are same, then data type of parameters should be different. If the data type of parameters are same, then order of parameters should be different. So these are the 4 rules applicable when you overload methods. Okay. But before that, we need to understand why overloading is required. What is the use of this particular concept in object-oriented programming? So let me tell you the scenario, and based on that, we can understand why overloading is required, whether it is useful or not. Okay, so let us try to understand with simple scenario. Let us say, I have one scenario. Let us say I want to add multiple numbers. That's my requirement. It can be 2 numbers, or it can be 3 numbers, or 4 numbers, 5 numbers. Okay, whatever numbers I will provide, it should add. So for that, I want to create some methods in the class. So for example, I'm creating one method called add 2 numbers. So I created one method which will take 2 parameters. And I'll create another method called add 3 numbers. I'll create another method. Here I have to pass 3 numbers. And add 4. I create another method for adding 4 numbers. So now I have created 3 different methods for adding 2 numbers, 1 method, adding 3 methods, adding 4 methods. Sorry, having 2 numbers, having 3 numbers, adding 4 numbers. So 3 different methods I created for 2 numbers, 3 numbers, and 4 numbers. Now, if you want to access these methods to the object, we will access them differently through object, right? Object name dot add 2, add 3, add 4 like this. Suppose if you want to add 2 numbers, then what you will do? Add 2 of 2 numbers you will pass. If you want to add 3 numbers, then I will call add 3 numbers method and I will pass 3 numbers. And if you want to add 4 numbers, then I will call another method, and here I will pass 4 parameters. And this is the definition, and this is the usage. Now, as a user, don't forget about programming classes and everything. As a user, if you understand this particular scenario, I have 3 methods for adding 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 4 numbers. 3 different methods are there. And if you want to add 2 numbers, you have to call this method. You have to remember this. If you want to add 3 numbers, then you have to call another method. Again, this method also you have to remember. If you want to add 4 numbers, then you have to call another method. Again, you have to remember this method, right? This is one scenario. Let me tell you another scenario. Again, same thing, but here the method names are same. Add. Here you can pass 2 parameters. It will accept 2 parameters. Here it will accept 3 parameters. Here it will accept 4 parameters. The method name is same. Now, as a user point of view, if you want to use this method, if you want to add 2 numbers, then I will pass 2 numbers in add method. If you want to add 3 numbers, I can pass 3 numbers in the same method. And if you want to add 4 numbers, then I can pass 4 numbers to the same method. So this is another scenario. If you compare these scenarios, in the first scenario, in the second scenario, implementation wise, there is no advantage. So here we have created 3 methods. Here also we have created 3 methods. Effort is same. Development effort is same. Here the first adding 2 numbers implementation is there. Here adding 3 numbers implementation. Here adding 4 numbers implementation. Same thing here also, we need to add 2 numbers implementation, 3 numbers implementation, and here implementation of 4 numbers. The development effort is exactly the same. No change, no difference, no advantage. But when you come to the user point of view, here in the first case, we have to remember names for every method, right? If you want to add 2 numbers, we have to call one method. If you want to add 3 numbers, then I have to call another method. If you want to add 4 members, then I have to call another method. So here we have to remember all the methods. Okay. And here we don't need to remember any methods. Just one method is doing everything. So as a user, suppose user doesn't see any code and implementation part. Okay. And these are the 2 scenarios are there in front of you. So which one you will prefer? First one or second one? So in the second one, you have only one method. You feel you're having only one method, but it is adding 2 numbers, adding 3 numbers, adding 4 members. Same method is doing all 3 things. But here, multiple methods are doing multiple things. Okay, in this particular case, which one you will prefer? The first one or second one? I said, this is my first one, this is my second one. Always we go with the second one is easiest one, right? Because in the second scenario, we will remember only one method. And it is doing everything. 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 4 number, everything, right? So according to the user perspective, the second one is the easiest thing. Okay, but development point of view, effort is same. Here we have to implement 3 methods. Here also we have to implement 3 methods. But the only change is here we put different names, but here we put same names. Okay, and this is the main advantage of using polymorphism. So one thing can have many forms. One method can add 2 numbers. Same method we can add 3 numbers. Same method will add 4 numbers. As a user perspective, I'm telling. But in the reality, we have different methods for different operations. For adding 2 numbers, one method is there. For adding 3 numbers, another method. For adding 4 numbers, another method is there. Implementation is different. But according to the user, what I will feel is every time I'm calling only one method, taking 2 parameters, it is working. 3 parameters is working. 4 parameters also, it is working. So as a user point of view, we think this is more preferable. This we can achieve using polymorphism or overloading concept. So we can create multiple methods with the same name, but the number of parameters should be different, or data type of parameters should be different, or order of parameters should be different. So by following these rules, we will implement these methods as part of the class. This is called overloading, method overloading concept. Okay, let us try to implement this practically. Most important concept. Listen this very, very carefully. Now let's go to Eclipse and create new package for today. It's day 12th. Now, so in this, I'm creating a new class. I will name it as adder. I'm not taking main method. So in this, I will just create only variables and methods. Okay, so this is the class. In this, I will take two numbers. Int a is 10 and b is equal to 20. Now I'm creating one method, void sum. Void sum. I'm not taking any parameters. Observe this. So inside this, I will directly add two numbers, a plus b, because a and b already hard coded these two values. So whatever values I already hard coded by default assigned. So I'm just adding those two numbers. So this method is not taking any parameters. Okay, this is the first method I created. Let's give some number to this first method. Now I'm creating second method, void sum. Observe here. When I create a second method with the same name, again, same thing. Return type is same, method name is same, no parameters, here also no parameter. Exactly same, right? So it is giving a duplication. If I put cursor here, it is saying duplicate method sum in type adder. It is saying it is a duplicated method. Same structure, we should not create another method with the same structure. So what I will do is, what is the first rule? Number of parameters should be different. If number of parameters are same, then data type of parameters should be different. If the data type is parameter same, then order of parameters should be different. Let's see the first point. Number of parameters should be different. So here no parameters, but here I will take two parameters. Both are integer, int x comma int y. Two parameters I'm taking. So once you take two parameters, and then here I will add x plus y. These two numbers I'm taking as parameters, and then I'm directly adding those two numbers. Whatever numbers we are getting as an input here as a parameters, we're just performing sum of those two numbers. So this is one method. Okay. Now, is there any difference between these two methods? Yes. The definition is totally different. Here, no parameters. Here, there are two parameters. So it is accepted. They are not duplicated. So how we have differentiated these two methods? Based upon the number of parameters. So here there are no parameters, but here there are two parameters. There is a difference. The first point is applied. Number of parameters should be different. So for these two methods, number of parameters are different. So it is accepted to create two methods. Suppose if the number of parameters are same, then what is the next rule? Data type of parameters should be different. Okay, for example, if I write the same method again, one more time, it is duplicated. Again, it is duplicated. Why? The method name is same. Number of parameters also exactly the same. So now it is duplicated. So if it is duplicated, how can we differentiate these two methods? The number of parameters are same here. So we need to differentiate with the data type of parameters. So what we can do now, we can put one variable is integer, the other one is, we can make it as a double. Okay, now it is different. So here we are adding x plus y. So in method overloading, the first point, the number of parameters should be different. So if I look at first two methods, here no parameters, here two parameters. So these are different. And if you compare 2 and 3 methods, the number of parameters are same. The number of parameters, here two parameters, here also two parameters. But the data type of parameters will be different. So here there are, both are integer, but here one is integer, other one is double. So there is a difference. So if the number of parameters are same, then the data type of parameters should be different. Okay, now if the data type of parameters are same, for example, let's say I'm creating the same method one more time. Now observe here, this is another method. We should not consider the return type in overloading. Okay, so now if I look at this, if you compare these two, 3 and 4, number of parameters are same and data type of parameters also same. So they are duplicated. So if the number of parameters are same, then what we should do? If the data type of parameters are same, then what we should do? We should change the order of parameters. So what we can put now, this double you can put here, or you can put integer like this. So or else you can make a int, or you can say double x and int y. So like this you can specify. Okay, now the data type of parameters are different. So number of parameters are different. Data type of parameters are different. Order of parameters are different. Okay, these are the 3 points are applicable. If number of parameters are, if number of parameters are same, then data type should be different. If the data type of parameters are same, then order of parameters should be different. So 3 points are applicable or not? Yes. And let's create any number of methods. Let me create another method with 3 parameters. Void sum int a comma int b comma int c. 3 parameters I'm taking. And now I'm adding a plus b plus c like this. So you can create n number of methods like this with the same name, but you have to make sure the definition should be different. This is called definition. This part is called definition. Definition of the method. And the body is called implementation. Okay, the implementation can be anything, but the definition should be different. See, now we can just look at these methods. Each and every method is unique. They are totally different. You can see here, this is no parameters. Here 2 parameters, both are integers. Here also 2 parameters, but one is integer, the other one is double. Here this is also 2 parameters, but one is double, another one is integer. There is a difference between these two. Now the third method is taking 3 parameters. All 3 are integer parameters. Like this, you can create n number of methods with the different combinations, different number of parameters, different type of data, different order of parameters you can specify, and you can create different combinations of methods. This concept is called method overloading. Okay, now we have declared some of the methods. Let us try to access them through the object. Again, I will create another main method. So from the main method, we will create an object. Through the object, we can access all these methods. So I'll name it as adder main. Here I'm taking main method. Okay. Now just observe. So these are the methods we have implemented. I've given numbering also. This first method, second, third, fourth, and this is my 5th method. So totally 5 methods we created. Now let us try to use. So this is the development part. Now let us think like a user. So you have a main method. Now your objective is you want to access the methods from this adder class. So how can we access? First, we have to create an object of adder class. And through that object, we can access everything. So let us create an object of adder class. Adder add obj equal to new adder. Okay, so now I created one object of adder class. So with this object, we can access all the methods. So now you can just tell me, based on the parameters, it will go and call particular method. See, add object dot sum. I'm not passing any parameter. If I look at this also, when you say dot, just type sum here. See how many flavors of sum method it is giving here. Totally 5 methods. So this is called polymorphism, overloading concept. See, as soon as you say sum here, it is suggesting 5 different methods. There are actually 5 different methods we created. All method names are exactly the same, but they are different forms. One is no parameters, one is taking 2 parameters, another one is taking 3 parameters, one is taking int and double, another one is taking double and integer. So different flavors which we have created. So now it is automatically suggesting everything, which method you want to take. So it depends upon your data, you have to choose the right combination. You can see No parameters. One is double and integer, integer and double, two integer parameters, three integer parameters. So you can see three multiple methods are auto suggesting here. Now I'm taking the first method, no parameters. So when you call this, which method will be called? When I call the sum method, which one will be invoked? Obviously the first one. Okay, because here we are not passing any parameters. So at the runtime, it will check, is there any method which is not taking any parameters? Yes, there is one method is available. So obviously this method will be called. So what this method will do, because A and B values we already hard coded, so it will just perform those sum of two numbers, A plus B. So when you run this, it will just print 10 plus 20, which is 30. So this will call my first method. Okay. Now let's see another method I'm going to call. Add same object, same method. As a user, I will always feel I'm calling only one method. But in reality, there are multiple methods we have implemented. So now I'm passing, let's say two integers. Let's say 10 comma 20, or I can say 100 comma 200. So now how it will pick the right method? First, it will check number of parameters. Two parameters we are passing. Now in this, is there any method which is taking two parameters? Yes, there are three methods are there which are taking two parameters, right? So the second, third, and fourth, these three methods are taking two parameters. Okay, it filtered three methods. So number of parameters are same. Now what it will check? What is the data type which we have passed? Both are integers. Now in these three methods, it will check, is there any method which is taking both the integers? Yes. Now the second method is taking both are integers. So obviously it will call the second method. So here 100 will be stored in X and 200 will be stored in Y. And then it will perform sum of those two numbers, 100 plus 200. When I execute, it will show you 300. Similarly, let's take another method, add obj dot sum of. This time I'm taking this one, double integer. So first one I'm passing a decimal number. Second one I'm passing integer. Now, which method will be called? First one is decimal, second one is integer. Obviously, the fourth one will be called. Okay, the fourth one, first parameter is double, decimal. Second parameter is integer. There is only one method which is available with this combination. So obviously this will call fourth method. Okay, now it is performing 10.5 plus 20, which is 30.5. And suppose if I pass add obj dot sum of, and here I'm passing integer and then decimal number. First one is integer, the second one is decimal number. Now, which method will be called? First one is integer, second one is decimal. Third method will be called. So this is exactly matched. So this will call third method. 10 comma 15.5. So 25.5. And suppose I'm calling one last method, add obj dot sum of. Now this time I will pass three parameters. All three are integer, 10 comma 20 comma 30. Three integer parameters. So when I run this, we have only one method which is taking three parameters. All three are integers. So this is got executed. So this is executed with the method. Okay, suppose I call like this, add obj dot sum of, okay, 10.5 comma 20.5 comma 15.0. Now tell me which method will be called. So when you, all three are decimal numbers. All three are decimal numbers. Which one will be called? Okay, so this will give an error. When you put the cursor, what it is saying? The method sum of int and double. So this method is available. Int and double combination with the two parameters are available, but not this type of method is not available. All three doubles, all three parameters are decimals. So this type of definition is not created inside the class. It is not found. This combination is not found in this class. So this is the reason it will give you an error here. You can see here. The method sum int and double in the type adder is not applicable for the arguments or 3. So basically we are passing decimal number at the beginning, right? Decimals. So it is basically checking, is there any method is having decimal number? It found only one method. This is the one. So it is taking only 2 parameters, but here we're passing 3 parameters along with the double. So it is not matching. So this is invalid because that definition is not there in our class. Okay. So this is how we can implement method overloading concept. So method overloading means we can create multiple methods with the same name, but the number of parameters should be different. If number of parameters are same, the data type of parameters should be different. If the data type is same, then order of parameters should be different. So by following these rules, we can achieve method overloading concept. So method overloading is an example for polymorphism. Is this clear, everyone? What is polymorphism and method overloading? So polymorphism is a theory concept, and that we can achieve using overloading. Same thing we can apply for constructor also. We can also have constructor overloading. Now I will show you one more example for constructor overloading. So very, very important. In the coming sessions, we will also discuss about overriding, which will comes under inheritance. So that time again, I will compare this and I will show you the differences. Okay. So void sum of int x into y is equal to void sum of int a. Yes, both are equal. Why? Because the data type, number of parameters are same. Data type is of parameters also same, right? Obviously, the same methods are exactly the same. Just you have changed variable names. That will not make any difference. Okay. So if just changing the variable names will not make any difference. So here x and y you put, right? If method, you can create another method like this, same method, but you just change only parameter names. You can say A and B. So that will not make any difference because the data type of parameters are same, order of parameters are same, number of parameters also same. These are the 3 things which will be considered. The variable names we will not consider. Okay, the number of parameters, the data type of parameters, order of parameters exactly the same. So this is not overloading. So can method overloading have different return types? Yes. Return type also we don't consider. Okay, so this can be void. This can be integer. Okay, this can be any other type of return type. So we don't consider return type. We will consider only parameters, number of parameters, data type of parameters, order of parameters. Okay. So we don't consider void as part of overloading. We will not consider the return type of in overloading. Let me just give you a simple example. You'll understand. So I'm just creating this method again one more time. Okay. Same method. No parameters, no parameters. But instead of println, I'm just trying to return this. Now, what could be the return type here? What could be the return type here? Integer is a return type. Now we can see these 2 methods are duplicated. Still, even though if I change the return type, they are duplicated, right? Even though I have changed the return type of this method, it's duplicated. Still, it is duplicated. What does it mean? In overloading, we don't consider the return type. We will consider only the parameters. We will consider only the parameters. So now you understood the return type also, if I change, it will not make any difference. So now again, even though if I change the return type, these 2 methods are exactly the same according to overloading concept. Okay, according to overloading concept, 3 rules are applicable. Number of parameters should be different. Data type of parameters should be different. Order of parameters should be different. But if you look at here, all three are same here. We're not talking about return type. We're talking only about parameters. So if you look at the parameter wise, everything is same. So return type will not make any difference in overloading. Clear, everyone, so far? And rest of the experiments you guys can explore, okay? If you do some changes according to your requirement, you just do some changes and see the effect, how they are exactly working. Why showing error? Because they are see, if I create another method with this integer return type, okay? I'm just returning instead of printing a plus b, just listen very carefully. So here, guys, can you guess why it is giving an error? Why it is giving error here? It is same type, same duplicated. So same method we created again, right? I already told you the return type is not considerable. We should not consider return type in overloading. So if you keep return type aside, look at the only methods. So method wise, they are same or not. The definition is same or not. Yes. That's the reason it is a duplicated. That's the reason it is giving error. Clearly saying duplicate method sum in type adder is duplicated. So that's the reason it is giving an error. If you just change only return type, that will not remove the duplication. Okay, return type will not be considered. Only based on parameters, number of parameters, order of parameters, data type of parameters, we will differentiate. We will create a different methods. Okay, so remember this point. So this is all about method overloading. Okay, so what if you select the sum of int x and double y, but pass int x 10 and y equal to 20. Okay, so let us assume this, guys. So you have implemented one method called like this. Sum of you're taking int x, what is integer parameter? The second one is double parameter called y. So this is your implemented methods. Now at the time of calling, you are passing sum of, at the time of calling, you are passing two integers, 10, 20. So will it work or not? Will it call this method or not? Yes or no? Here in the method, the parameter type is what? One is integer, second one is a double. Here, what type of parameter we are passing? Both are integers. So how it will match? It will not match. Okay, it will not able to call. So if it is a decimal number like this, then it will match. First one is integer, second one is a double, right? If both are integers, this method will not call. So it will take another type of method. They should have both are integers, int x comma int y. This method will be called. If you pass two integer parameters, only this will call. This will not call. Because why? The data types are different. Here both are integers. Here first one is integer, but the second one is different, right? So according to the values which we have passed, this method is not suitable. The second method one is suitable for that. You understood now? So this is overloading concept. First level, it will check the number of parameters. Second level, it will check the data type of parameters. Third level, it will check order of parameters. Okay. Rahul, understood? So this is how it will work. So data type is very, very important. You define integer and double here, but you are passing both are integers. How come it will match? It cannot. Okay, it will check, is there any other method which is taking both integers? So there is another method which is taking two integer values. So this will execute according to your values. Okay. And for example, here I'm passing 10.5 double and integer. Now which will call? Which method will be calling these two methods? You guys can tell me. I have method with this and I have another method, both integers. And I'm passing first one is decimal, second one is integer. No one. Because with this combination, there is no method in this. First one is a decimal, second one is integer. But here, first one is integer, second one is double. It will not match, right? Suppose if we have a method like this, sum of first one is a double, second one is integer, then it will match. So this combination will match the third method. Okay. So like this, it will go and pick the right method. If second method is not there, will it allow like 20.0? No. See, decimal is a decimal here. Integer is integer. You have to carefully use it. Okay. Suppose here integer and integer y. So you should not pass decimal. Even dot zero also is not accepted. Even if you put dot zero also, that is a decimal number, right? So it will strictly follow the data type, guys. Okay, it will strictly follow the data type. So normally as per the data type, if you create a double variable, suppose I'm creating some double variable. Okay, here I can store 20. This is right. But how it will store? Just like a 20.0. So this is the actual integer value. I'm able to store in the double variable. This is allowed. But internally, how it will show when you try to print a value of a, it will give you 20.0. By dot zero, by default, it is added. But here it will not like that. If you pass integer, that cannot be stored in the double. It's not allowed. In overloading, it is not applicable. Integer means strictly we have to pass integer. Double means we have to pass a double. Okay. Yes. Now this is all about method overloading. Now let us see constructor overloading. So in the last class, we have understood what is constructor, what are the differences between method and constructor, right? So based on that, let us try to achieve constructor overloading. For that, I'm creating another example. Let's create a new class and constructor overloading. So I'm just creating one more class called box, simple box. And in this class, I'm going to create some constructors. So what is the first rule of constructor? What's the first rule when you create a constructor? We have to follow. Constructor name should be same as a class name. Whatever name we have given to the class, the constructor name should be same. Okay, so let's create one constructor now. And before that, let me take. And what is the purpose of constructor? The last class we discussed. What is the main purpose of constructor? What is the purpose? What is the goal of constructor? Yes, just to assign the data to the variables, nothing else. Okay, constructor, don't do anything, just for assignment. So here I'll take 3 different variables, all are decimals, double, width, height. Every box is having width, height, depth, and everything, right? So I'm just taking 3 measurements of the box: width, height, and depth. So 3 parameters I'm taking. All 3 are decimals. Now to assign the data into these variables, I'm creating one constructor. Constructor name is what? Box. And this particular constructor is a default constructor because I'm not passing any data into it. So what this constructor will do is, by default, I will assign 0 to every variable. So what I will do is I can say width equal to 0, height also 0, okay, and depth also 0. So I'm assigning 0 as an initial value for every variable. So this is the default constructor. And instead of writing 3 statements, okay, we can also do like this. Because all values are same, right? So width equal to, height equal to, depth equal to 0. Single statement also we can write like this instead of writing 3 variables, because the values are exactly the same, right? For all 3 variables, the values are same. So single statement you can write. So when I invoke this constructor, the 0 is a default value for all three variables. Now I'm going to create another constructor, box. Now what will happen? What is why error is giving here? Because it is a duplicated. There is no difference for one first constructor and the second one, right? Both are same, duplicated. Now same rules are applicable here. Three rules. What are the three rules in overloading? The number of parameters should be different. Data type of parameters should be different. Order of parameters should be different. At least one rule should be applicable. So in this, I'm taking three parameters. Okay. And if you don't take any parameters, what type of constructor it is? It is default constructor. Okay. Now in the second one, I'm taking three parameters. Let's call this is my first constructor. And this is my second one. In this, I'm taking three parameters. Double, all are decimals, double W, width, and double height H, and double depth D. So three parameters I'm taking. Again, these three values I'm reassigning to the class variables. So width equal to W, height equal to H, depth equal to D. So now I'm taking three parameters, and again I'm assigning the data into the class variable. So this is another constructor. So now there is a difference between first two and second one. Yes, the first constructor is not taking any parameters, just assigning the 0 to every parameter, every variable. Now in the second constructor, we are expecting three parameters and again assigning the data into three variables. This is another type of constructor. So what is the difference between these two? No parameters, but here there are some parameters, three parameters. Okay. Now I'm creating one more constructor, box. This time I'm taking only one parameter, double length, one parameter, and same value I'm assigning to all the variables. So let us take the same thing. And here, whatever value we are getting here, that I'm going to assign here. That means what? Width, height, depth, all values are exactly the same. Okay. So I'm taking one parameter and same value I'm assigning to all three variables. This is another constructor which is taking one parameter. Now, three different constructors I have created. First constructor, no value, no parameters. Second constructor, three parameters, all are double. Third constructor, only one single parameter, which is double. So now all three constructors are totally different. So inside the constructor, we should not perform any operations. It is just for initializing the data into the variable or assigning the data into the variables. Now to perform some operations, what we can do, we can create some other method. So I want to find volume of the box. I want to calculate the volume of the box based upon the values of width, height, and depth. So I can create one user-defined method. Okay. And that will return a double volume. This is my user-defined method. And inside this, I want to find volume of the box. So how can we find? Just we have to multiply all these three variables. And width into and height into depth. That will give you volume. So that I will again return that. I will return it. I'm not printing. I'm just returning it. Width into height into depth. I'm returning it. So this method will calculate volume of the box. Okay. Now return type is what? Double. So when you multiply all three variables, it will return the decimal number again. So we are returning type is decimal. So this is additional user-defined method which we created to calculate volume of the box based on the values which we provided by using constructors. Okay, this is the implementation of box class. Three constructors I have written. Now let us see how to use it. I create another class, main class. I will name it as box main. Take this main method, click on finish. Okay, now just observe. How to invoke the constructor? How to invoke the constructor? How constructor will be called? Yes, as soon as you created an object, immediately constructor will be invoked. You don't need to call constructor separately using object. Just you create an object, constructor will automatically invoke. Okay. Now just observe. I have three constructors this time. Okay. So I'm creating an object of box class. Box b equal to new box. Okay. So box b equal to new box. B is a object of the box class. Now observe here. When I leave the statement like this, which constructor will be invoked? Just tell me. First one, second one, and third one. There are three constructors are there. Which one will be invoked? Yes. Because we are not passing any parameters here. So by default, it will execute default constructor. Okay. In the default constructor, we are assigning 0 to every variable. Right. So now I'm just calling volume method, the last method. Volume. This will calculate volume of the box. So what I will do is I can say b dot volume. So this method will return the volume. Return means we have to hold that return value in a variable, or you can directly print it. So here I'm printing. So b dot volume will return some value for us. The return value, you can hold it in another variable, or you can directly put inside the println so that it will directly print. Now, what is an output you are expecting here? 0. Why? Because the default constructor. So this will invoke the first constructor. In the first constructor, the values are 0. So 0 into 0 into 0, 0 only, right? So when you call volume method, it will perform 0, 0, 0 dot, because it is a decimal number we return. So obviously dot 0 by default, it is added. Okay. Now, if you want to invoke this constructor, how can we invoke? The same object, we have to pass 3 parameters. Okay, by using same object, we cannot invoke all types of constructors. With one object, we can invoke only one type of constructor. Okay, now this time I will pass 3 parameters: 10.5, 15.5, 5.0. Okay, now 3 parameters, all 3 are decimals, doubles. Now, which one will be executed? Second one. Second constructor will automatically execute it. So the values will be assigned. So here W will receive 10.5, H will receive 15.5, D will receive 5.0. So again, reassigning all the values to the class variables, width, height, and depth. And after that, we are calling volume method. It will perform volume of the box. Yes, now we can say this is the output we are getting. This is the value of 10.5 into 15.5 into 5.0. Right. Now, let us pass box b equal to new box of, I'm passing single value, let's say 10.5. Single value. So this will invoke the third constructor, because in third constructor, we're taking only one input, which is decimal number. So the same value will be assigned to the all 3 variables. So now how it will be calculated? 10.5 into 10.5 into 10.5. So when I execute, this will give you output like this. This is the volume of the box. All 3 variables are having same value, 10.5 into 10.5 into 10.5. Okay. So this is how we can achieve constructor overloading. We can create multiple constructors also. But again, same rules are applicable. Number of parameters should be different. If number of parameters are same, then data type of parameters should be different. If data type of parameters are same, then order of parameters should be different. So by following these 3 rules, we can achieve method overloading or constructor overloading. So is this clear, everyone? Please confirm in the chat box. Overloading. Through overloading, we can achieve polymorphism. Polymorphism means one thing can have many forms. Very simple understanding. So this much is enough. Polymorphism concept is over. Okay. Now, let us move on to the next concept. So far, we have completed 3 concepts from object-oriented programming. One is class, second one is object, now polymorphism. So 3 concepts we have successfully done. So whenever I say overloading, you should remember overloading is related to polymorphism. Whenever I say polymorphism, you should remember overloading. So these 2 concepts are you have to remember together. Okay. Now, the next concept of object-oriented programming is encapsulation. Encapsulation. Okay. So what is encapsulation? Encapsulation means the wrapping up of data and methods into single unit. Single unit in the sense class. Data in the sense of variables. And we already know methods. This is a definition, official definition from Java. Wrapping up of data. Data means variables and methods into single unit. Single unit in the sense class. So what does it mean is, we will have all the variables, methods in one single class. That means we are already following it, but slightly difference. So far, we are getting variables and methods in the class only, right? The class contains the variables and methods. And what is the additional meaning of this? Wrapping up of data and methods into single unit, which is called encapsulation feature. So let us try to understand why this feature is available and what is the importance of this feature, what is the use of encapsulation. Capsule means what? Which contains a medicine, right? What is a capsule? Capsule includes a medicine. Can we see what exactly there in the capsule? Can we see the medicine in the capsule, inside the capsule? No, it is hidden part, right? We can just see outside layer, but we can't see what is there inside this medicine, right? Similarly, in encapsulation, we will create a class. The class contains the variables and methods, but they are not visible to outside classes. It is moreover like a security kind of a feature. So what we need to do is we will create one class like this. Let us say this is class A. And in this, we will create multiple variables along with some methods. This is as per the definition, right? The class contains the variables and methods. So we create a class which contains the variables and methods. So normally, how we are accessing these variables and methods? Through the object, right? In another class, let's say we have another class called B. In this class, we will create an object of class A. And through this object, we are able to access everything, variables, methods, everything. So once you created an object of class A, through the object, we are able to access everything directly. Object name dot variable name, object name dot method name, everything we are able to access as soon as you created an object. This is the default feature, which we have already seen. Now, what encapsulation says, encapsulation, we put every variables and methods in the single unit, single class, but we don't give access on these variables outside. That means through this object, we don't directly access the variables. We cannot directly operate the variables. Instead, we will just call these methods and these methods will operate the variables. That means we are not directly accessing the variables, but only through methods we are able to operate the variables. Okay, this is called encapsulation. So why we need to implement is just kind of a security mechanism. Simple example I'll tell you. You have some bank account. Let's say this is your bank. And you went to the bank and you have an account with this bank. And there is a customer care, some guy is sitting here. When you reach your bank, okay, if you ask your account details, like what is your account balance, everything, will they provide directly? Will they provide you directly? Let's say you have details, all banking details they are having with them. Okay. So if you directly reach out to the bank, if you ask, provide your all the details, can they give directly? No. they will first ask for some identity, right? So your identity details, they will ask your Aadhaar number, PAN number, and so on. So once they ask, once you provided these details, they will cross check, right? And accordingly, they will read the data and they will provide it. So they don't directly give access on your details. So there is a mediator is there. So if you provide some authentication information, then only this guy will provide the information to you. You are not directly accessing it. Similarly, in encapsulation, whenever you create an object, through this object, we cannot directly access the variables. Only through methods, we will able to operate the variables. We can assign the data into the variables only through methods. We can operate the variables only through methods. We can do operations on the variables only through methods. But we cannot directly access the variables anywhere else through the object. So that is a feature of encapsulation. Wrapping up of data and method into single unit. And we can operate variables only through methods, not directly. Okay, this is called encapsulation. How can we achieve this? So to achieve this, what we have to do is, by default, we will able to access all the variables through the object. By default, we are able to access all the variables through object normally. But if we don't want to access, what we can do is, we have to make all the variables are private. There's a first point. We have to make variables. We have to create a variable with a private access modifier. In front of every variable, we have to keep private keyword. Okay, whenever you make the variables are private, those variables can access only within the class. Only within the class means the methods can access. But outside of the class, you cannot access because we make them as a private, means more secure. So as soon as you make them as a private, through object also, we cannot directly access. But how can we operate the variables? How can we assign the data into the variables? We have to create methods for this variable, for assigning the data and reading the data. So if you create any variable, what are the basic operations we do on the variable? We can assign some data and we can read the data from the variable, right? These are the only two things we do normally. Assigning the data, reading the data. So how many variables you created here? For every variable, we create two methods. One is for assigning the data into variable. Other one is to read the data from the variable. That means if you have 10 variables, you have to create 20 methods in the class. For every variable, there are two methods. One is for setting the value into the variable. Other method is for getting the value from the variable. So the methods which we created to set the values into the variable, we call them as a setters. And the methods which we created to read the data from the variables, we call this a getters. And there are two kinds of methods we have to create. Setters will set the data into variables. Getters will get the data from the variables. For every variable, we have to create two separate methods. And by using those methods, we will try to operate the variables, but not directly. This is called encapsulation. This is just a kind of a security kind of a feature, but in development perspective, it is more useful, but automation testing point of view is not that much useful feature. Okay. So the guys understood the concept. What is encapsulation first of all? Encapsulation means wrapping up of variables and methods into single unit, and we don't directly access the variables. We operate the variables only through methods. Methods can access the variables. Okay, that's the concept. How can we achieve this? Two different things. First thing, we have to make all variables are private. Second thing is what? For every variable, we have to create two methods. One is setter method, other one is getter method. That's it. Okay, let us try to implement this. Very easy concept. Just try to implement this. So I will write all the points here. So we have written the definition. So what is encapsulation? The first point, all variables should be private. Whenever you create a class, all variables, we must make it as a private. This is the first thing. And for every variable, there are two methods should be created. One is get method, other was set method. And variables can be operated only through methods. Okay. So should we write two methods for all variables? That will not be encapsulation. You can create, no problem in that, but that's not comes under encapsulation. But there is a disadvantage in this. I will tell you what is the disadvantage. If you create one or two methods for all the variables, you can create, no problem in that, but that is not encapsulation. See, what is the problem in that? I will tell you. I'll tell you what is the problem in that. See, I'm taking same example, bank account example. So let's say this is your bank. Okay, you have account number, balance, and some other details, some personal information. Here there is a banker. These are details they have with them. And now you reached your bank, you approach your bank people, and what you are provided, you are just provided your account number. And based on account number, they will fetch all the data. But they won't provide all the data at a time. Suppose if you need only balance amount, only balance, then they will tell only balance to you. Okay. And whatever information you have asked, only that information they will provide you. So if you create only one method, let's say you created only one get method for all other variables, this method will get you all the information at a time, all the variables. But you want only account number, you want only balance. Can we get it? Specifically that variable, you can't get it, right? So if you create a separate method, let's say get balance, get account number. If I create multiple methods for every variable, then you will able to get only that particular data whenever you want. If you write one single method for all the variables, what will happen? When you call that method, you will able to read all the data. That's not encapsulation. Okay. That is the reason we have to create two methods for every variable. One is for setting the data, other is for getting the data. So then only you will operate individual variables separately. Okay. If you create one method for assigning the data into all variables and reading the data into all variables, you can create, but that is not encapsulation feature. What encapsulation says is every variable is a private and every individual variable should have two methods. One is setter and getter method. And through those methods, you will operate variables individually, not combinedly. Okay. So just understand the concept here. Now, let us try to implement this practically. So these are the points which we have to remember. While implementing the encapsulation, all variables should be private. For every variable, there should be two methods, getters and setters. And variables, we should operate only through getters and setters, not through the object. That's the main purpose. We should not able to access the variables, but we have to provide a way to operate the variables. What is that way? Is through methods. Okay. I hope everybody is understand the concept theoretically. Now we'll implement this practically. Encapsulation. Now create a new class and I'll name it as account. New class. My class name is account. I'm not taking main method. I'm just creating a new class. In encapsulation, if you want to apply encapsulation, so how can we create a class? So as per the definition, we should have some variables and methods. Let's create a variables. I'm creating int account number is one variable, string account name, and double amount. So three variables I'm taking. Now I'm not making any private. Okay, just have normal variables and see. Later I will apply private keyword. So these are the variables I have created. Okay, for example, let me create main method also. New class, and I'll name it as account main class. I'm taking main method here. Okay, just observe here. These are the three variables which we created. Now in the main method, I'm creating an object of account class. Observe this. Account ACC equal to new account. I created an object. Now you guys can tell me, by using this object, can I access these three variables or not? At present, can I access or not? Yes. How can we? Simple ACC dot ACC number. You're able to access, right? You can assign the account number. ACC dot name. You can assign the name also. This is a director. ACC dot. You can apply. You can assign amount. You can assign some amount. So we are able to access directly. This is not encapsulation. So what is the first rule we have to do is we have to make them as a private. So we have to add private keyword in front of the variable like this. For every variable, we have to make it as a private. Now observe very carefully. As soon as you make them as a private, here you can't access it. See, it is started giving an error. What it is saying, the field account number is not visible. And the field, the name is not visible. So the amount field is not visible. Why they are not visible? Because we make them as a private. So as soon as we make them as a private, we cannot directly access. This is not possible. Okay, first rule is applied. But then how can we operate these variables? Only through methods. So we have to create methods here. For every variable, 2 methods we have to create, as I said. One is getter, one is setter. So let us create. So for account number, I'm going to create one method. Void. Okay, and set account number. This is one method I'm creating. Set account number. Here I'm taking account number as a parameter also. I say int ACC number. And that I'm going to store actual ACC number. So here, this is ACC number. This is account number. Or you can say AC number. I'm giving different names. And here in account number, I'm storing this AC number. Is it correct or not? Yes. So I'm taking one parameter and assigning the value into the account number. So this method will assign the data into the account number. Okay, here I will tell you one more thing. This AC number is a local variable. This ACC number is a class variable. So here the local value I'm assigning to the class variable. Can we use same name here? Like this. Can we use same name, class name and local variable name? Can I use same class name and local variable name? Okay, so let us try to use for now. So I'm using the same name here and assigning, okay? And nothing wrong in this. I will tell you what is the problem in this. So this is one method which we created for set the data into account number. Similarly, to get the data from account number, I'm creating another method. Void get ACC number. This method is for getting the value. Getting means return. I want to return it. Return ACC number. And what could be the return type now? Integer is my return type. So for this particular variable, I have created 2 methods. One is for setting the value into the variable. Other is for getting the value from the variable. Okay. Now these methods we can access, right? In encapsulation, these methods we can access. So now come to the main class. Observe carefully here. Through the object dot, first I will call set account number method. Set account number. So here I'm passing some account number. So then what happens? This method will call set account number and receive this value into the account number variable and assign the data. So we are able to operate this variable. The next, after assignment, I want to get the value from account number. ACC dot get account number. So account number will return the value here. Returning means what? We have to store the return value in a variable, or we can directly put inside the println statement. So this is the way we will operate. So here we are not directly operating the variables. We are not directly accessing the variables. We cannot. Why? Because we make them as a private. In addition, for every variable, we have to create like this. 2 methods are required. One is for setting the value, other is for getting the value. So here we set the value in the variable through method. We also get the value from the variable through method. This is called encapsulation. Okay. Now let me run the code and observe the output. See, it is giving 0. We passed 101. but it is giving 0. Why it is giving 0? I'll tell you reason. So when you say when you pass 101, here it is received correctly, 101. When you're trying to assign the data, here the class variable is what? Account number. Local variable is also account number. When I say account number equal to account number, we know which account number is a class variable, which account number is a local variable. But this method don't know that. This method will confuse which one is a class variable, which one is a local variable, because both are same, right? We are given same name to the class variable and local variable. So the set account number method is confusing which one is a class variable, which one is a local variable. That is the reason it is assigned default value, which is 0. The default value of integer variable is 0. That is the reason it is giving account number as a 0. Why it is happened? Because we use the same name, class name and a local variable name. But still I want to use same name. How can we differentiate this? Explicitly, I should say, this is a class variable and this is a local variable. So to differentiate these two variables, we can use this keyword, this. So here we have to specify this dot account number. So whenever you see this keyword, that is always representing the class. Okay, remember this point. So always this keyword is representing the class whenever you use it. So when I said this dot account number, yes, now this method will know this account number is belongs to the class and other account number is belongs to the local variable. Okay, now you understood where exactly we have to use this keyword. Same thing is applicable for method also, constructor also. Okay, whenever you are using class variable name and local variable name is same, then you have to differentiate them by using this keyword. Okay, now if you run this, you will get the right output, 101. So we have achieved encapsulation. So whatever variables we created, for every variable we have to create two methods. One is setter, other one is getter. Okay, understood everyone? Now I'll show you something else here. You understood this keyword also, right? What is the purpose of this keyword here? Yes. Now observe very carefully. Will there be necessarily to access all private variables in all classes? Not necessary. If there is a requirement, you should be able to access. Otherwise, no, don't access. Yes. Now, let me tell you something else. Here, these are the user-defined methods, right? We can give any name, no problem. But the method name should be more meaningful. If you read that method name, you have to know, okay, this method is for setting the data. This method is for getting the data. You have to easily recognize. So accordingly, you have to provide the name to this method. Okay, I will show you something very easiest thing. Here I have only 3 variables. So I can easily create. For every variable, 2 methods means 2 into 3. 6 methods I can easily create manually. Suppose you have a 10 variables or 20 variables. It is very difficult to create so many methods, right? It's very difficult to create many methods. For every variable, if you want to, 10 variables are there. 10 into 2, 20 methods you have to create manually. It is very tedious task, right? So what we can do is, Eclipse is provided some shortcuts. Eclipse is provided some shortcuts. By using those shortcuts, we can easily include all setters and getters for all variables. Simply, I will show you. Observe very carefully. I'm just deleting this. Okay, now automatically I want to add all setters and getters. What I can do is put the cursor here. Once you created all the variables, just put the cursor here. And there is an option called source menu. You can see source. Inside the source, you can see one option called generate setters and getters. This is the option. Generate setters and getters. You can just click on this option and you will get one window. Here it will show you all the variables. Currently I have only 3 variables. So it is showing 3 variables. And you can select here. for which variable you want to create a setter and getter methods. You can specifically write, or I want to generate setters and getters for all the variables. Then click on select all. It will select everything, all the variables. And simply you can say generate. That's it. See how it is useful. It is generated setters and getters for all the variables. If I look at here, see, this is for getter method for account number. Get account number and return account number. And this is for what? Set account number. It is taking account number as a parameter and assigning account number to the class variable. And this is for getter for name. This is setter for name. This is get method for amount. This is set method for amount. Very simple, right? Compared to the manually written all the methods, it is very, very simple way of inserting setters and getters. Okay, I will show you one more time. Let me remove everything. Listen this very carefully, guys. Not focusing. See, now I want to generate setters and getters for these three variables. Okay. Simple, put the cursor here. After creating all your variables, put the cursor here. Then go to source menu. Here you can find that option. Generate getters and setters. Click on this option. You will see all the variables here. You can, suppose if you want to create setter and getter specific variable, you can select specific variable like this. Or if you want to generate setters and getters for all the variables, you can click on select all. Once you select it, click on generate. Click on generate button. That's it. It is automatically generated all setters and getter methods. And public access modifier, by default, it will be added because these methods we can access anywhere, everywhere throughout the project you can access. That's the reason public is by default added. Okay. If you look at here, same how we have created earlier, exactly similar way it is got created. So get account number means when you call this method, it will return account number. When you call this method set account number by passing account number, it will assign the account number. Same thing for get name, set name, get amount, set amount. So this is automatically added all the getters and setters. For example, for this amount, I don't have setters and getters. Let me remove this. So I have created getters and setters only for these two variables. I don't have getter and setter method for amount variable. Then what you can do? Again, go to source, generate getters and setters. Now observe. This time it is showing only that particular variable. Whichever variable not having this setter and getter method, it is displaying only that particular variable. Simply select and click on generate. That's it. It is added. So if you have so many number of variables, this option will be very, very, very helpful. Okay. Clear, everyone, how to add setters and getters for the variables. Again, you were asking the basic question. We already discussed multiple times, are repeated. What is the use of these getters and setters, guys? Can anyone tell me? What is the use of these getter and setter methods? What is the purpose of creating the getter and setter methods? What is the use of creating getters and setter methods? Yes, because we make the variables as a private. Means we cannot directly access the variables through this object. But how can we operate these variables? Only through methods. So through the get method, we can get the value from the variable. By using set method, we can set the value into the variable. So like this, for every variable, we have to create one get method, one set method. Only through methods, we will able to operate the variables. Okay, when you use this object, only we can call these methods through the object, but we cannot directly access the variables. Okay, now once you created your variables like setters and getters, here we can just call those methods. So ACC dot set. See here all setter methods are displayed. So I want to set account number. Account number is what? Let's say 101. Similarly, I want to set ACC dot set amount. Let's say I'm passing some amount. And then ACC dot set name. I'm just trying to set a name. So now I have set the data into all the variables by using setter methods. Now I want to access the data from the variables. How can we do it? By using get method. So get account number. So this will return account number. So that I can print directly. acc.account number. And similarly, system.out.println acc.get amount. And similarly, system.out.println acc.get name. Right? So like this, we can assign the data into the variables by using setter methods. We can get the data from the variables by calling getter methods. But everything we are able to do only through setters and getters, but not through variables. We are not directly accessing the variables. Okay, but we are accessing it only through methods. That's called encapsulation. The concept of encapsulation is like that. Okay, now we got the data like this. So this is a kind of a security kind of thing. Okay, instead of accessing the variables directly, we will able to operate only through getters and setters. This is concept of encapsulation. Okay, so what is the first point in encapsulation? Wrapping up of data and members into single unit, which is a class. All variables should be private. If you're not private, we can access directly through object itself. That's not encapsulation. So we have to make them as a private. After making them as a private, then we can access the variables only through getters and setters. For every variable, we have to create one get method, one set method. And the variables we can operate only through setters and getters method. That is a concept. Okay, so if you don't make them private, you can directly access through the object. There is no security. Everywhere you can access the variables. But here our intention is we don't want to access the variables outside of the class. Only within the class we are able to access. Encapsulation. We make the variables hidden to the user. When I create an object, through this object, we cannot access. That means for this object, these variables are hidden. Only through methods, we're able to operate. Okay, so this is the concept of encapsulation. But automation point of view, it's not much useful. But the development point of view, it will be very, very useful for them. Because they want to maintain more privacy to the variables. I told you one example also, the banking example. When you reach out the bank, they don't directly give all the details to you. You have to provide your authentication. Accordingly, they will fetch the data and whatever details you want, only those details they will provide. Similarly, we just call these methods first, and these methods will get the data from the variables and then provide to the user. You understood now? So this is the concept of encapsulation. This much is enough, guys. Don't go beyond that. Okay, not much important for us. But interview perspective, you need to have some idea. What is encapsulation feature in object-oriented programming? Encapsulation means the wrapping up of data and methods into one single class. We make them as a variables private so that we cannot access anywhere else. And we can operate the variables only through setters and getter methods. Okay, that is a concept of encapsulation. Okay, so in interview perspective, these topics are most important. What is polymorphism, how to achieve, what is overloading, and what is encapsulation, and how to achieve it, and what are the rules of polymorphism, all those things. Very, very important. And one last thing I forgot to tell in overloading concept. Just observe this. One more last option. We have discussed about overloading concept. So what is overloading? One thing can have many forms. We can create same name, multiple methods with the same name by changing the number of parameters, order of parameters, data type of parameters, and so on. Now my question is, can we overload main method? Very, very important. Can we overload main method? In every class, we are creating a main method, right? Main is also one of the method. Main is also one of the method. Can we overload it? Just like other methods. Let me tell you the question. So class. So here, I will name it as something. Okay, overloading main method. Here I'm taking main method. Okay, now observe here. This is just like a normal method, but it's a special type of a method, but ultimately it is a method. There are some access modifiers, some of the keywords are got added, public, static, void, and so on. But this is also just like a normal method, but it is having special type of attribute because execution will start from this main method. Always JVM is look for this particular syntax and everything. But my question is, just like other methods, can we also overload main method? That is the most important, very popular interview question. Yes, the main method also we can overload. Main method also we can overload. How it is possible? Let me tell you. So this is the main method, right? So let's keep this main method one side. Now I'll create another main method. Void main. See this? This is also main method, right? This is also main method. In this main method, okay, I will write something. Let's say I will take one parameter. Let's say some x. One single parameter I'm taking. And here I'm just trying to print that x. This is one main method. Create another main method. Public main. And here I'm taking string parameter. One single parameter, but a string. Okay, so here I'm trying to print yes. Okay, another main method also I'm taking string s1 comma string s2. So two string parameters I'm taking. So here I'm printing s1 plus s2 concatenation. See, multiple main methods we can create, but is there any difference or not? Here the main method name is same, so these we will not consider. This part we won't consider. Only the parameters we should consider in overloading concept. So here integer, single parameter. String, this is also one single parameter, but a string type. So there is a difference in this. Here, two parameters, both are strings. And here, what about this? Args is just a parameter name, just like x, s, s1, s2 we are using, right? Same thing, this is just like a parameter. It's not a fixed value. You can put anything. You can put a also, or you can put x also, or you can put args also, anything. This is just like a parameter name. Okay, don't think args is a fixed value. No, it is just an argument. And what type of argument it is? String array type of argument. String array type of argument. Okay, so we created multiple main methods. But if you want to access these main methods, from where we can access? Through the object. Where we can create an object? Inside the actual main method. Okay, in the actual real main method, whatever is there, here only we can create an object. Now let us create an object for class. Overloading main method, OV equal to new overloading main method. So now by using this OV, you can access all the main methods. You can see here, there are 4 main methods it is showing. First main method is taking one single parameter, 100 I'm passing. Now OV.main, second main method is taking string. So I'm passing string parameter. Another OV method, I am passing 2 strings. So here I'm passing the first parameter, hello, and second parameter is John. 2 parameters I'm passing. Okay, like this. Now all other main methods I'm able to call when I execute it. So now we got our output. Okay, so this is how we can also overload main method. We can also overload main method. Guys, understood? Is very, very popular interview question. Okay. So in the actual main method, why this parameter is a string array? Okay, why this parameter is a string type of an array? Because this main method can take a string array as an argument. But from where we will pass these parameters? through command line arguments. In Java, we have a concept of command line arguments. Okay. When you run this class through command prompt, not in Eclipse, through command prompt, we can pass these parameters to the main method also. After that, we can use these parameters inside the main method also, just like other. So here we're passing 2 parameters, we are using it. Here we're passing 1 parameter, we are using it. Similarly, in the main method also, we can pass the arguments. String array type of arguments only it is allowed. Means multiple string parameters we can pass. And that we can use inside this main method. So that's how they have created this main method. Okay, then only the JVM will able to recognize this main method and execution will start from the main method. That's it. We don't know exact reason why they have put only string arguments. But we can say this main method also can take arguments. String parameters it will take. Array type of parameters it will take. And we can use them inside the main class. Okay. So we can overload main method. So we can overload. Overload is nothing but what? You're missing the concept actually. Overloading is nothing but one thing can have many forms. The main method we have created multiple times or not? Yes. That means what? The main method is also will be overloaded. The same main method I have overloaded. Method name is same. But the parameters, number of parameters are different. Order of parameters are different. Data type of parameters will be different. So we are able to overload main method also. We can also create multiple main methods. That's called overloading. We can create multiple main methods. Okay. So this is how we can achieve the overloading. So here we are not going to deal anything with the command line arguments. Not at all needed. So you can just ignore the topic. Okay. So overloading concept is enough. So the development point of view, they will normally execute these classes outside of the Eclipse. Okay, in the form of jar file. So they will create all the classes bundled with some jar file, and they will run that particular jar file in remote locations like through command prompt or through Jenkins or somewhere else. So in case if they want to pass any parameters to the main method, they will use these arguments. Otherwise, no need. Okay. So that's it for today's session. And you guys can do some 2 rounds of practice, encapsulation, polymorphism. That is enough. So interview point of view, this is very, very important. But in automation point of view, overloading is important. But encapsulation is not that much important. It's a very simple concept. It's a kind of a security and privacy kind of thing we can provide to the variables. Let us stop here for today's session, and tomorrow we will continue.